I just got back from New York a couple hours ago. 18-hour flight.
Oh, well, yeah.
So let's talk fast.
Yes, yeah, no, I'm not going to hold you long. I'm not going to hold you long.
I'm not in a hurry.
I've got a few basic questions, but I'll keep you energized.
And we're going to stay on the same general subject area, right?
Give us a clap.
Yeah, sure. I'll give you a clap. All right,
Yes.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Me and Patty, take one.
Wow, that just happened. Thank you very much, Jim Kemp. And I can call you Jim in this interview?
Yeah.
I'm very excited by that because you've been James for so long. Jim, one thing that a lot of people will be listening and watching know that I spend a lot of my time talking about Kiwis, good Kiwis, great Kiwis.
Yeah, you're very positive.
Positivity is what I'm into. Yeah. Are you a Kiwi yet officially? How is the progress of your citizenship?
Oh, it's imminent. I mean, I've qualified in terms of time in country. I've put in my application. I'm told it's imminent.
Right. So it's
done deal.
You're waiting for it in the post.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
no, I think the mayor calls you in, and so there's a little ceremony. Not just me, but like a group of people comes in.
Yeah, that's how it's done. And are you? Does it mean something to you to become a citizen? Because obviously you're a resident, you've got all these rights. Yeah. What will it mean to you to become properly a Kiwi?
It means a lot. It's something I've worked toward. I've had to sacrifice for, because you can imagine in my kind of work, it's global work. I'm everywhere for marketing, and I'm all over the place. And we've got people working in LA, and I've had to limit my travel and focus on this. And my wife's going through the same thing. She's only a few months behind me. It means a lot to us, because I think if you're going to uproot your family and you're going to move somewhere, you have to invest. You have to be part of it. You have to earn standing, And I've tried to do that since I've been here, even as a resident. Try to, give back through our attempts to run apprenticeship programs and things like that on our productions. I just think you've got to earn your right to be in a place. The funny thing is, I never did that before. I was born in Canada, and when you're born into something, I don't think you value it as much as when you have to do something to earn it.
Because how does it sound to be called Jim the Kiwi? Do you like that?
That's good. I like it. Yeah. No, I was saying, because we were doing this panel earlier, and I was saying when I walk down the street here in Wellington, people coming the other way, I either notice them recognizing me, but I don't know them, and they're just cool. They just kind of cruise by, or sometimes they'll give a little nod, like, "Hey, I like your movies," but they don't accost me or try to get a picture or anything like that. It's just not the Kiwi way, from what I could see. I mean, I see tourists who are clearly from someplace else, and they'll do it, but locals don't.
So a Kiwi sees you, they just give you a nod or raised eyebrow?
Yeah, or sometime, and this is the one I like the best. "Hey, Jim." And I don't know them from Adam, but I love that, because it's just like people acknowledge each other here with a kind of eye-level acceptance.
Yeah.
And look, everybody's not a saint in New Zealand any more than they are anywhere else, but I definitely, as an outsider or someone who was an outsider, I see a difference here in the way people treat each other.
And what have you seen? Because how many years has it been now in total that you've been living here?
Well, it was 11, so yeah, 14 years.
14 years.
Yeah.
So 14 years here, you've had a good look at us. You want to become one of us. What is it that really strikes you about being a Kiwi? What is the observation that you've come to?
I grew up in Canada and Ontario, and I see a lot of similarities here in the way people behave. I actually like it better here a little bit, which is there's a kind of an innate respect and a demand for respect. In other words, people in some cultures, and it varies from culture to culture around the world. In some places, it's really extreme. Like in India, which is an extreme example, people are so obsequious when they're in service jobs and things like that. Whereas here, everybody has this kind of equal status in terms of personhood, and I love that, and that's what I wanted my kids to experience, because Los Angeles that's where they were born, can be a very materialistic city, and the values are all about kind of status and social status and maybe status in the entertainment industry and things like that. And I've tried to eschew that as a person, and I didn't want my kids growing up in that system. And so that was one of the strongest reasons why we moved here.
That equality and respect you seem to be talking about,
Yeah.
where everyone's the same, is that?
Oh, no, well, I think it's not that everyone's the same. I think it's that, well, it doesn't matter if you have money, it doesn't matter if you have standing or fame or whatever. It's, you have to still earn my respect. You know, I'm saying any person that I meet, that's what they would think. And I think that's the way it should be, you know, because I don't think having money makes you better. You know, I've been blessed in that the work that I do, sometimes I make money at it, but I'm just trying to reach people with my art, right? You know, it's not like I go out there and grub for it every single day. It's not an end in and of itself. And so maybe it's easier for me to say, well, it's not that important. But I think that there's something here in society here in the fabric of it, and it probably comes from having been a kind of a frontier environment for so long, so far from the kind of the parent culture, at least for the Pakeha, you know. Obviously the Maori have their own culture and they're here from the jump. But I think being so far away, people had to be reliant on each other, you know. So it's maybe a little bit of a carryover of that rural thing. Oh, you know, you need some help with a fence, I'll come help you, you know, that sort of thing. And I also like the kind of number 8 wire mentality. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah. We'll figure it out together, you know. And these are just values. They make sense to me because I was raised in a similar system in rural Canada, you know, and a lot of similarities. So there's a recognition and an appreciation.
Yeah, so that's what you like about this. And you're not only a Kiwi, you're not only a New Zealander, you don't only love Aotearoa New Zealand, but you're a Wellingtonian as well.
Correct.
You know, people will think of you a lot about your farm and the Wairarapa. Yeah. But actually, you are a Wellingtonian. That's how you view yourself.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I view myself.
You live here?
I love the city. We have a house in Roseneath, and that was just to be close to Miramar, where the studio is, where I do a lot of my work, the studio that Peter Jackson established. We also have a studio that we set up out in Lower Hutt. So, you know, it's a good, but it's not far to go anywhere. Even the farm is an hour and 45-minute drive around in Wairarapa. Nearest town is Martinborough, which is quite nice, obviously, wine country. We don't do wine on our farm. I just figured that there were enough people doing it and doing it well. I didn't want to try to get into that from scratch. But no, I love the city. It's really kind of an amazing city. I try to explain it to people in other places, say, because they always say, "Oh, New Zealand, it's so beautiful." I say, "Yeah." And it is, and there, you can't find an ugly spot in this country. But Wellington's unique, you know. And I try to explain to them that, you know, it has the advantages of a town. It's just the right size because you've got all the amenities you need and all the services you need and all the stores and restaurants that you need, but you can still walk around and just bump into people you know. And that's not going to happen in Auckland. That's not going to happen in other cities that I've lived in or worked in. Certainly not going to happen in Los Angeles or Toronto, which is the area I grew up. You know, there's that big city anonymity that bothers me. You know, nobody's accountable to each other. But here, first of all, you feel like you're part of something. You feel like you're part of a town, and you're kind of innately, you know, feel a kinship. And secondly, I always bump into somebody that I know because, you know, I mean, I've got my fingers in a few pies around here, and you know, and a lot of people that I work with, which is great. So my wife and I will be walking around the waterfront on a Sunday afternoon, and it's inevitable there'll be 5 or 6 people we'll meet as we walk around for a couple miles.
Yeah, and you like that, and we don't need to go into detail here, but you know, today you've been on a panel trying to help Wellington get out of the fix that it's in, essentially. What, in an overview of what you've been saying, what do you think the city needs to do to get out of that?
I think it needs to do what it does best, which is be welcoming to the world, to solve problems together. I mean, it's in a bit of a low spot right now, but when I first got here 14 years ago, there was vigor in the film community, there was vigor in the city. at large. We just need to remember that we're good at that, and we can do it. I think from my personal perspective, reinvigorating the film sector can mean a lot. And I don't think people here really appreciate how good they are at it relative to such a small population base. Because they're competing with cities that are considered film centers around the world, like Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Atlanta, Sydney, Gold Coast, stuff like that. These are all places with much bigger populations. And so you've got much bigger populations of extras, for example, that you can draw on, and film crews that you can draw on. But we're actually very good at it here. And that's one of the things that attracted me here initially. And we're very good at some of the very high-tech stuff. There are excellent VFX artists here, world class. And I think that we need to remember that that's an area. We can't just expand out and build sprawling industrial complexes and things like that in order to grow economically. This is a thing we can do here. Historically, it's been proven, it's respected, and I feel it's a place that's worthy of investing. Obviously, the game community, very, very similar.
Yeah, gaming,
a lot of people are
tech.
Yeah.
You feel that that's where Wellington's strengths are? There needs to be deliberate attempts to reinvigorate film, invigorate
Yes.
gaming, invigorate tech.
It's not going to happen on its own, but it's an investment that makes sense. For $1 in, you'll get 7 out, or you'll get 10 out, something like that. And so the incentives make sense. Training programs, apprenticeships, mentoring, the universities, the trade schools. Everybody needs to be part of this, and it has to start, at the central government level, but also the city government can assist with that as well. And just the citizens, there's sometimes a big media backlash against what's perceived as a subsidy of an industry, but it's not a subsidy, it's an investment with a very good return on investment.
Yeah, so you think that New Zealand central government should continue to invest
Yes.
in film in
Yeah.
this country,
Yeah.
extend that to gaming, extend that maybe to tech, and help the city out?
I think it's something that we can, yes, it does help the city out, but it's earned, right? So money comes in from a film, especially an international film, but even locally, and that's an investment from the central government, but it inures to the benefit of all the local businesses here in Wellington. Now, if somebody's shooting in Auckland, that's different. If they're shooting down in Queenstown, the money usually goes to the local businesses. But every hotel, every transportation company, every restaurant, they all benefit, and it makes jobs. So it's actually really good for the economy, and it's an investment that the central government can make in the city of Wellington, which is where they're based. So it's a good feedback loop, right? But we as Wellingtonians have to support that and not undercut it, not undermine it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it gets undermined in the media. People don't understand it and they speak out against it.
But yeah, you are saying they're good. These subsidies, they rule.
They work. They bring money in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that, people will be wondering about the progress of the Avatar movies.
Yeah.
What can you say publicly? Where are they at? How long will work on those continue here in New Zealand?
My plan is to continue for another 5 or 6 years to the end of the cycle, which is 5 movies that are all written, roughly designed, not finitely designed, but they're written. So where we are now is we're in post-production on 3. That'll be released on December 19th. We're in very good shape on it. I think we've got about 1,000 people employed, mostly here in Wellington right now. And hopefully we'll roll right over into 4 and 5 from there.
Yeah.
And, look, I love to make jobs here. I love the people some of these people I've known for now 20 years, right, that have worked. And they look forward to it because it's kind of this weird family vibe. Everybody looks forward to working on the Avatar movies because they get to see people they haven't seen in, a few years.
Yeah, so you're going to see them out here in New Zealand.
Yeah.
All 5 Avatar.
Yeah, and we're actually moving even some of our people over from the U.S. and focusing. So we'll be hiring as well. We're focusing more of the production here than we have historically.
Wow. And how's it looking the one at the moment, number 3.
I can't be objective, but I think it looks pretty good.
It looks good?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I've shown it to a few selected people to get feedback, right? And that's part of what a filmmaker does. And the feedback has been it's definitely the most emotional and maybe the best of the 3 so far. We'll find out, but I feel pretty good about it. And the work is exceptional from the actors. It's just really, it's pretty heart-wrenching in a good way.
Yeah, and a question as we just move towards the end of the interview now, but we have a shared passion around climate change.
Yep.
I travelled to Antarctica, made a documentary down there. Well, it's a big topic, but are you worried, obviously you're worried about climate change in general, but what about Antarctica more specifically and the role that could play in climate change overall with the melting of the sea ice down there? Are you concerned, Jim, about Antarctica?
I'm very concerned about Antarctica, and the same I'm concerned about Greenland as well, any of the big ice sheets, because obviously when they break away, they move off, they melt, and then they contribute to sea level rise and destabilize the climate. And I think historically what we've seen over the last 10 or 15 years is that the ice experts, the glaciologists are always more conservative. It's like, the right loves to say that the scientists are wrong. Yeah, they are wrong. They're consistently wrong. They're always much too conservative in their projections. It's always worse than because they'll find out something new, like the lubricating effect of the when the water drains down through the crevasses and acts as a lubricant and accelerates the ice sheets moving off the landmass into the water and so on. And we just see that happening everywhere. So yeah, it's a significant problem, but unfortunately we're in this kind of very destabilized political climate now globally, and I think people are recoiling from too much. It just feels all out of the average person's control. But there are so many things that we can do just as individuals. We don't have to wait for the government to do some big thing. I think we've been pretty good here in New Zealand certainly compared to what's happening in the US right now. But there's so much that we can do individually in terms of our food choices, our transportation choices, how much electricity we consume, and so on. And I feel that there's an intention here to try to get it right. I think New Zealanders respond to a sense of individual duty, to the group, to everybody, and that's what you have to have. And what I'm seeing in the US is a swing to the opposite, which is I'm going to get mine, and everybody else is on their own.
And how worried are you about what's happening in the US with the election of Donald Trump?
I think it's horrific. I think it's horrifying. And we could talk about this all day long, but I see a turn away from everything decent. America doesn't stand for anything if it doesn't stand for what it has historically stood for. It becomes a hollow idea, and I think they're hollowing it out as fast as they can for their own benefit.
And is that another reason? Obviously, you came to New Zealand long before Donald Trump, but does it make you feel safer here, being able to?
I don't know if I think we're all in this together globally. I don't know if I feel any safer here, but I certainly feel like I don't have to read it on the front page every single day, and it's just sickening, And there's something nice about the New Zealand outlets. At least they'll put it on page 3. You know what I mean? They're like, thank you. That's all I ask. I'd rather read a story about a cat in a tree and the fireman saving it. You know what I mean? Or some peccadillo in government here. I just don't want to see that guy's face anymore on the front page of the paper.
And
it's inescapable there. It's inescapable. I mean, it's like watching a car crash over and over and over and over.
And 2 final questions. Your creativity, your drive for people who are watching or listening to this, who want to find more creativity and drive in their life and get to what they want to do.
Yeah.
What is your advice to someone there that wants to be creative but have drive and execute?
I think we imprison our minds when we're young that, it's those other guys over there that are allowed to do it, and you don't necessarily feel a sense of permission. When I was a kid, I just naturally drew and wrote. I just drew. I couldn't not draw. And what I see with young young folks coming up today is they'll draw and they'll create, but they don't want to share it because there's so much scrutiny through social media, and they're so afraid of being judged when they're still just flowering. They're still, they're still just learning the craft, So, I took a bunch of my drawings and I put them in a show, which is kind of touring around, and it's like, just draw. Don't, because if I had thought when I was doing that stuff that I was ever going to be famous, I wouldn't have done it. I'd have been paralyzed. And I just think kids judge themselves too harshly these days. Just be creative. Just do it. You got something to say, just say it.
Yeah, just do it. And just finally, this segment that you've been interviewed on is actually called Great Kiwi. We interview people who are great Kiwis. So congratulations on being a great Kiwi.
Thanks. You're going to have to do this again when I actually get my passport.
I think you count as a...
We'll just bank it for a few weeks.
You count as a great Kiwi. And we always end by asking other great Kiwis just to give a life lesson about anything for other Kiwis on how they can live their life better. Jim, what's a life lesson that you have for other Kiwis?
Oh, geez, I don't know if I can teach Kiwis anything. I don't know. You just follow your heart. Just do it. Just throw yourself into it. Don't be afraid to jump off the cliff. And you could fail. It's okay. You'll find something else. But if you never express yourself because you feel held back, it's kind of what I was saying before. Just don't feel held back.
Well, that's good advice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. Okay. That was a great interview.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Look forward to you becoming officially a Kiwi.
Yeah, it'll be soon.